Okay, so this past weekend, the Council of the Town of Hay River was delighted to welcome our residents home. After being evacuated for 5 weeks, thousands returned to Hay River by road and chartered air transportation. Returning evacuees are tired, but so happy to be back, and Council recognizes that it's been a difficult period for many and that it will take time to recover from the effects of the fire and the evacuation itself. Our thoughts are especially with the residents of Paradise Gardens and Patterson's Road who have lost their homes and businesses. We will continue to support our community, including the West Point First Nation, Hay River Métis Government Council, and our friends in the Catlodache First Nation and Enterprise. As a community, we hope to bring people together. We will encourage events where people can meet to offer support for one another and build new relationships. Let's celebrate what makes this community great, our people. We will also look to support our local businesses that have been impacted over this last month. These businesses have supported our community groups, sports teams, and residents for decades. Many now, after having been impacted by 2 evacuations this summer, need our support to bounce back. Christmas is coming, guys. Our council challenges the local and territorial chamber to work for their members and institute programs to support them. On behalf of Council, I will be lobbying the territorial and federal government to find additional support for business recovery. 5 weeks of disruption is well beyond the intent of the financial support programs announced to date. In the last couple of years, Hay River has been impacted by natural disasters of fire and flood like few other communities in Canada. This has been extremely challenging for the community. However, through these events, we have become increasingly stronger and more resilient. We now have a natural fire break surrounding us that will all but ensure we are protected from wildfires for decades. Forestry and farming opportunities will arise from the ashes to spur our economy. We have developed plans for mitigation that will protect people and property through the impacts of climate change. Some of these projects are already underway, but we are calling on the federal government to financially support the work that remains. Work that ranges from flood zone mapping to infrastructure builds to supporting new affordable housing developments in flood-resistant areas. The firefighters from all areas, contractors, volunteers, and so many more have given us this opportunity. This community is standing here today from their efforts, and I can't thank you enough for that. So with that, back to you, Patrick.
All right. Well, thank you, Mayor Jameson. And if people can use the raise hand function to ask questions, sorry, I should have indicated that earlier, but if you can do that, if not, I'll maybe start with a list here. About Emily Blake, Cabin Radio. Do you have a question?
Hi, yes, thank you, Mayor Jameson. I'm just curious what supports there currently are for folks who may have lost their homes, whether that's, from the town or various other levels of government.
It is early days, Emily, and thank you for that question, but we will be meeting with, we have talked to many of these people personally, myself, as well as SAO Smith. We will be meeting with them in the coming days to see what they need from us. We do understand that a lot of them had insurance, so that is going to make a big difference, I'm sure. But yeah, if we can help support, whether it be dump removal fees, I don't know, whatever we can do to support these people, we plan on doing it.
Right. And Emily, did you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you could comment on, how the return is going.
Well, yesterday was quite impressive at the airport. The flights just coming in, people look tired, right? Traveling's never a good thing, but when you've been out of your community, and some of our elders really were very excited to get home. I had the opportunity to speak to a few people while they were returning, but yeah, I think people are just relieved, that our community is still here, especially when you look on a map and when you're far away and trying to find out what's happening. I know it can be stressful, so people are relieved and glad to be home.
So, and with that, Ethan, did you have a question?
Hi, yes, I do. I'm just wondering about the business side of things a little bit more. Are there any, you mentioned that you're going to be lobbying to support businesses and make sure that people are shopping at those local businesses. Is that the only support in place right now, or are there, grants or that sort of thing available?
There is a program available through the GNWT. But yeah, I think that they have been hit really hard, and Hay River has always been, I mean, we thrive on small business. It's what drives us. So we've always supported each other, and I know that the community will support these guys. Christmas is coming, and I challenge everybody to shop locally for Christmas and help these guys out because like I said, we're not a government town. We are based on small business, and we support each other, and we wish each other well. So hopefully people, can pay back. If you're wondering what you need to do to help support our community, that's a huge one. Shop local and help these guys out.
Sure, yeah. So I'm just wondering, the mayor mentioned flood resistant techniques in anticipation of next year. Does that look like people moving further south away from the lake? Just what does that look like?
Yeah, so council has approved through the flood of 2022 now last year, which had significant impact on property throughout the community and our own infrastructure within the town's ownership. So they've approved our 10-year capital plan has several projects within it that are intended to help make the community more flood resistant. Some of it ranges from policy in terms of updating building standards to more significant infrastructure projects such as some berm work in the West Point First Nation area, extensions of berms, redevelopment of berms there, and helping control some of the erosion that's been occurring in that area. Also lifting roads. There's an extensive amount of flooding in an area called kind of Cranberry Crescent area, or 553. Lifting the road there has been identified as a project that can help reduce recurrence into that area. So we have submitted actually an application to the federal government through Canada, through their Disaster Mitigation and Adaptation Fund, I think for about $3.6 million. And then there's other projects such as storm system enhancements, backflow prevention devices, things that will mitigate future recurrence. But more, one of the key things really is trying to get out of the way of the floodwaters, and through that, which combines with the town's need for housing in general, is moving and developing into areas that are more flood resistant. So new land developments that have been identified that are away from the river, as an example. So the town has prepared and is submitting an application through the CMHC for, I think, about $4.5 million, if I recall, through their Housing Accelerator Fund. And through that, we see the potential for developing land and housing, especially into multifamily housing and more affordable housing. But we do require federal funding for all of these projects in order to move forward.
Super. Thanks, Ethan. And Jenna from CBC North, do you have a question for the mayor or SAO? Oh, okay. Jenna doesn't have a microphone, so I'm just going to read it to you from the chat, if that's okay. Question 1, what kind of specific support does Hay River want to see from territorial and federal governments for the local businesses? And either one of you, I think, can answer that.
Okay, well, maybe I'll start, and if she'd like a quote from the mayor, you can just mention that in the chat.
Sure.
Yeah, I think what the town has seen in prior disasters, we took advantage of federal funding through CanNor, through some of the resiliency funding, and that helped us rebuild. I think we received about 1.5 million from our last flood. It's that type of funding that we think may be needed to help rebuild some of these industries that have lost. We've lost a sawmill out at Patterson's. We're still meeting with them to discuss their actual needs, but it might be something along those lines that these businesses are needing. I think from the territorial side, they had introduced introduced some seed funding, which I think covered about $5,000, up to $5,000 in costs. But we've seen within our community businesses that have been impacted for more than one rent payment, as an example. So it's just not enough to cover the costs that these businesses were incurring during a lengthy evacuation period. Yellowknife's was much shorter. Perhaps the funding would be better suited to that period. But at 5 weeks plus, it's extensive, and we believe that our businesses need more.
Great. And Jenna has a second question. Sorry, did the mayor have anything to add to that?
I think that's fulsome.
Okay. The second question from Jenna is what support is offered to people who lost their homes? And I know that was touched on a little bit by the mayor, but is there anything you wanted to add to that, SAO Smith?
Yeah, so I think we've got about 8 properties that have been lost. We are setting up meetings to speak with those individuals, as the Mayor Jameson noticed or indicated. Insurance, of course, is always designed to help. So we do hope that there was insurance in place. However, we know that they have short-term needs. They might need temporary housing. They might need some zoning bylaw allowances to put temporary accommodations in place. In Patterson's example, there's no power, there's no communications. There's no communications yet, I believe, in Paradise Gardens as well. So how can we work with them to work with other governments, other utility providers? There's work to be done on road infrastructure and danger trees as an example as well. So we speculate a little bit at this point, but now is the time when people are coming back into the community to meet and understand, and it might even be through just coordination to help navigate. And of course, the territorial government as well has disaster assistance funding that they may be eligible for.
Super, thank you. And Laura, go ahead for either SAO Smith or Mayor Jameson.
Thank you. We know fires can be very unpredictable, and it was mentioned that fire breaks were created and a lot of work has been done to prevent the fire from reaching Hay River. But how certain are we that residents won't need to evacuate again from this wildfire?
So I guess I'll continue to take the question since I'm in the chair here. But again, if you'd like the mayor to speak, she can come over. Yeah, it's we've opened up through an evacuation notice. There's still an active fire in the area. Time will bring reduced risks. We do expect the fire to continue to burn into the winter to be fully suppressed. But council's been briefed continuously through their decision-making process on conditions that should be put in place around fire breaks and guards and predicted forecasts. But yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty with the fire, so we'll continue to monitor it. The chances of evacuation, especially a full community evacuation, is quite low. But we do have firefighters still in the community, both structural and wildland firefighters, and we'll be continuing to monitor and meet and ensure that no uncertainties come our way that can't be managed.
All right, is there anything the mayor wanted to add, or are you good?
What Glenn has said. We are on this. We are listening to the experts, and over the past week, we've had some gusting winds, and those breaks have held. So that gives me even more confidence in where we're at. So yeah, we're not out of this. We're living within a fire, and a very big one. But those breaks have held for us, and we will continue to monitor going forward.
Mm-hmm. And to be honest, there is not much fuel left around the community, so any significant burns are unlikely.
All right, and Laura, did you have a second question?
I do, and either of you could answer this, maybe even both of you. It was mentioned how it feels for residents to be back, but for both of you personally, what emotions were you feeling when you arrived back in Hay River and seeing all of the residents return to Hay River?
To see people coming back, nowhere in a million years did I think it would be 5 weeks out when we were sending people away. you know, evacuating for the third time in 12 months was, or 14 months, I guess, was beyond craziness to me. But, you know, it's job one is public safety. And I can't stress that enough. I said the other day that, you know, people really stood up and were calm. And I really thought we would have a hard time getting people out of the community since we had been through this, like I said, 2 previous times. But people left, and they did it calmly in a rational manner. So I can't thank our residents enough for that. But yeah, it's almost anticlimactic. I feel like I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with myself. Obviously, meeting with the media is going to be a big part, but I really want to get out there and see how the residents are doing and how they're feeling. And I'm hoping that there is some huge event we can have thanking our volunteers. I mean, there was a lot of hours put in to get us where we are today. So I'm sure that the residents would like to get together and be able to say thank you as well. But from day one, when we started to evacuate this community to now, it feels like a lifetime ago for myself personally. I'm sure for SAO Smith as well. It has been a long haul, but our firefighters, again, we have an amazing team here at Town Hall, and we have an amazing community, and I would go to war with any one of them.
Super. Thank you. Now, I know we had, there's one account on here from CBC North guest. Do you have a question? Right. Okay. And is there anyone else with a second or follow-up questions? No. All right. If you do have some follow-up questions, please feel free to email me at asao@hayriver.com. Certainly, we've got a lot of work ahead of us, and there'll be lots of shifting issues and requirements of our time. So, but we really appreciate your time here. Is there anything SAO Smith or Mayor Jameson you wanted to add at the end here?
No, I don't think you. Just thanks for your time and for communicating to our people. I mean, it was it's been, like I said, 5 weeks of meeting with you guys, so feel like I know you, old friends. But great work in getting the information to people. And like Patrick was saying, if you need anything from us or we can answer questions, please reach out. Thanks for your time.
Super. Thanks, everyone. Take care.